Welcome to the Power of Lifting podcast. I'm EricCafferty, owner of the Mecca Gym. I am a strength and conditioning coach and a contest prep specialist. The focus of this podcast is to dive into the mindset and the drive of people who have done incredible things with their lives. We're live, so without further ado, we've got possibly the most, definitely the most educated guest on so far.
Yes.
And possibly the most interesting too. So we have Dr. Danny Noonan, and he is a sports cardiologist, electrophysiologist, right? Yeah. And
it's a mouthful.
Yeah, he gets to operate on, people's hearts. You do a lot of what procedure do you do most frequently?
Well, thanks for even having me. It's great to do this. And
honor. Absolutely.
Yeah,
honor.
seriously, the pleasure is all ours.
No. It's bilateral, I can assure you. But thank you, truly. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it is a mouthful. It sounds a little weirder when you say it out loud.
Right.
When
They're like, hey, that's me.
So cardiac electrophysiology does just the electrical portion of the heart. So we get to do Afib ablations, supraventricular tachycardia ablations, ventricular tachycardia. So any electrical portion of the heart is what we fix. So we're mostly procedure and surgically oriented. Anyone needs a pacemaker, we put those in.
Right.
And so, just because of, part of the reason I'm here is I also have a love for, athletics.
Right.
And so I've sort of matriculated into sports cardiology. And so that's been a really nice thing to sort of break up your days and get a whole new cohort of people, when you think about, AFib. AFib is the most common heart rhythm problem on earth.
Okay.
There are 7 million people walking around with AFib. And to be clear for listeners, AFib is a discoordinated beating of the top chambers in the heart.
Right.
And there's a stroke risk for it. And it's very, very common.
Right.
And I tell folks all the time, 0.7% of the population has red hair and blue eyes. It's the least common hair and eye combination on earth. There are vastly more people with AFib than there are just red hair and blue eyes. So just to give you an idea of how common it is.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And so 2% of those people, maybe 2 to 5% of those people, are well-trained athletes.
Wow.
Uber-trained athletes. So I'm also the de facto cardiologist at Boise State, and, and so I get to see all those, and also most of the other schools around. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of patients with those, but we do have them, and you say, wow.
Even in young people.
Like the epitome of health. Who's the epitome of health? A 22-year-old Division I college athlete, right? And they still get it.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating to sort of see that different angle, the spread of disease.
Yeah. So when I was studying, I guess all of the cardiac arena, broad strokes, obviously in my master's program, there's, I actually had to write a paper on AFib, basically.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, it was really interesting, which was when, at the time, I had been running into you off and on. But, yeah, it's just really interesting. And from what I read, it was saying, there's actually, quite a few elite endurance athletes that develop AFib, which was fascinating to me. Yeah. So, and to my understanding, the cause of it is somewhat kind of ambiguous. Or would you say that, or is there a clear?
I think that's fair. No, I don't know that it's decidedly clear. People will have opinions about that. I mean, you sit around with a bunch of gray-haired cardiologists, and they're going to feel very strongly about some of those opinions. But I think
sounds right.
I think if you take a practical approach, sort of 10,000-foot view, sure, and you think about athletes who are more predisposed to something like that. It's endurance athletes,
right?
And that is likely due to a number of factors. Predominantly, when you think about the heart and cellular structure, and I'll geek out for a second, but I won't make it too long. Think about cellular structure, and you can sort of do it with your fingers here, like this. The cells interlock like this. As you become more adept at aerobic, longer distance things, the heart needs more volume.
Right.
And so the way the heart can get more volume is it will expand, and it expands to accommodate more blood volume as you're pumping the blood through it. And so that stretching causes disruption in the electrical fibers.
Gotcha.
Those electrical fibers run through each of these cells. And so that's probably the biggest mechanism.
Right.
But make no mistake, the second biggest mechanism, and maybe they flip-flop, is just the autonomic input.
Okay.
So you think about autonomic inputs, and we talk about this a lot: heart rate variability, parasympathetic system, sympathetic system.
Right.
They're going to have much higher sympathetic drives at times, big surges, but also a very high parasympathetic tone. These are the folks that come in where the heart rate's a 30.
Right.
So it's a really interesting mixture of what they do on a short-term basis and a long-term basis, and the pathophysiologic changes that happen over time.
Right.
Yeah. So we don't see it a lot in power lifters.
Well, yeah. So I was going to mention, typically what you see with the heart in, anaerobic oriented athletes is left ventricular hypertrophy. That's correct. Right. So, in other words, the chamber of the heart that's actually pumping the blood to the rest of the body. Right. Is gaining in size and mass and strength in order to fuel those muscles with blood and what they need, right? But with endurance athletes, potentially a little bit different, right? So what actually happens in the heart typically with endurance based athletes?
So, and it's sort of to follow up what we're saying is that you can think about these two changes in anaerobic versus aerobic athletes. And just like you said, with the power lifters, they need more force. They're doing things fast, and they're doing it. They need a lot of power. Blood needs a good. So the heart will hypertrophy, like you said. And so the walls get thicker in order to push more.
Yeah,
the endurance,
body's amazing.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, like,
so I say this all the time. I love that you said that. But the human body is amazing. The things it tolerates and it doesn't tolerate.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong, and you're like, why did anything go wrong? I have no idea what.
But
why?
yet, how did it not go wrong?
How did it not go wrong on these other times? It's astonishing. It's totally astonishing. And so what you'll see, and you should show the chart. If you get a chance, put it on the podcast page or social media or something. But there's a chart you can see about cardiovascular changes from anaerobic to aerobic athletes.
Okay.
And the aerobic ones will tend to get more of a dilated picture. So the heart gets a little bit bigger. It accommodates more blood volume to accommodate.
Gotcha.
Sort of the distance that they need. They need that higher hemoglobin content. They need more oxygen delivered to the tissues, and that's done by stretching mechanism. And so the heart dilates. Opposite, of course, in power lifters, where the muscle itself also gets big. And we see this, looking at echocardiograms, so ultrasounds. We can look at folks' hearts, and we can put an ultrasound on, say, an endurance athlete in college, and their heart looks bigger than it should. But they're totally fine. And you can do the exact same thing for football players. And we do this, especially in this last year with COVID. We were looking at all these football players. Their pump function looks low. It looks like their EF is, normally it should be 65%, and their EF looks about 40.
Interesting.
But that's because they can serve the demand up as needed. So that's a really efficient 40%
like they're resting.
Resting pump function is it looks lower than it should be, but it's
But really, if they need more, they've got it.
They have it. It's in the tank. Yeah,
that's
it's a sign of fitness for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, the one experience that I have with looking at any of that stuff was taking exercise physiology courses, doing a Bruce protocol, which is horrific.
It is horrific. But if you could do it every day,
oh, dude. My calves would be humongous.
Well, what is it? What is it for the layman?
So, for the layman, so you can explain it better than I can, but essentially it's a treadmill test for the heart. So they hook you up to generally like 12 lead.
Yep. Is that what you see athletes doing in like the ESPN documentaries? They're doing the thing?
Either that or like a VO2 tips pretty common.
Yeah.
This is different.
This is more sort of pathologic. If you have coronary pain or some heart condition, we can put you on a treadmill, and
it's an exercise stress test. Basically.
Right.
So
we see what happens to your heart while you're exercising.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the protocol, if you haven't done the protocol, you should do the protocol.
It's badass.
It is badass, and it goes up on a treadmill, and there are people I've seen, cardiologists I saw training that would do it forward and backward.
Oh, really?
Every day. Like that was their training thing.
That's
and they
awesome.
were uber fit.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's like when you start doing the test, like, you read about it in a textbook, you go down to the Phys lab and they're like, all right, we're going to hook you up.
Yeah.
We're going to put you on this treadmill. And you're just going to go on the treadmill, and every minute, 2 minutes or something, it'll get a little faster and a little steeper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you're like, you're looking at that, and, I was, thick into bodybuilding at the time that I did it. And I'm like, come on, whatever. And dude, and so we actually had a competition in my class to see who could do it the longest, basically. Because isn't it designed to fail, essentially?
Oh, yeah. At some point, everyone's going to fail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
What's the failure point? Just like you stop, you give up, you hop off the treadmill, or you fall and crash and burn?
So what are you looking at?
One of those.
So what are you looking at for? It's basically you're trying to get as close to your peak heart rate as possible, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, we want to see that you can get up to your max predicted heart rate, and then we really get some data. So then we can have longitudinal data about the coronary physiology you have, and so if you do well on a treadmill test, and generally you can sort of back of the napkin, don't take this as medical advice, but back of the napkin, if you're running 10 minutes on the treadmill, you're doing just fine.
Okay.
And so, we talk about getting to this max predicted heart rate, which, as you know, 220 minus your age, and that's sort of a
ballpark.
Ballpark estimate. And so we want to see that you get up to there and push yourself. And then on the EKG itself, we can look and see if there is actually any coronary blockage or obstruction or flow limiting lesions or something. And so it's a good screening test. It's a great, and it's a good test for anyone who's perfectly healthy, just wants to get their ass,
kicked. Dude, it's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds good.
That, and then also wind gates are like the two that really stick out to me in college. Doing your, anaerobic threshold with wind gate test. But
that's
the fascinating thing to me is, I remember, Dr. Redden brought you an EKG at one point in time to read it, and just like your ability to just basically read a heart by looking at a line on paper. It's like, I wish I could do that. Sure. It's so...
It seems like a superpower.
Cool. It does. It's seriously, you're like, oh yeah, well, because of this, you could look for X, Y, Z, and it's just like, he's just looking at the report, just spouting off like this, and I'm just like, how does he do that? How does he do that? It's fascinating. So, we, in our questionnaire, obviously we ask you a lot of different stuff, but, how did you get set on the path that you took, from when it all began? So you said you played baseball and basketball in college. Yeah. Where'd you start? How did you end up where you ended up?
So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, very cool.
And then, so, it's even funny thinking about it so long ago, but I remember in 7th grade, I was always one of the top couple smartest people in my class, 1, 2, 3. And I remember this 7th grade teacher, she came up and she said, pulled me outside after class, and she said, Dan, you're going to have to decide if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Oh, geez.
I was like, wow,
that's a hard line, man.
Question in 7th grade.
You're like, gulp.
Just like, I'm just trying to decide what I'm going to have for lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think from there I chose doctor.
Okay.
And so then I sort of went on this path, and then these series of things happen. Grandfather gets an MI, and then I'm in college and I go to school in St. Louis, and across the street was a hospital where I was able to do a little bit of research, and fortunately I was able to serve on an ethics committee, which was super dope.
Oh, that's cool. Is this in high school?
In college.
Oh, in college. Okay.
Yeah, and so and then I ended up going to work at the place in the cath lab, and so I just worked as like a tech. Holding groins after angiograms and making sure people didn't bleed out, and then slowly taught myself EKGs. So I taught myself how to read EKGs when I was like 18 years old.
Oh, geez.
So
there you go.
There you go. We can do it.
Yes.
We can do it after the podcast. We can all sit and learn EKGs.
Oh,
we'll get some assignments, and then it won't be so fascinating.
Oh, man.
All my secrets will be given away.
Right.
And so that sort of started it, and then then at that point I was already sort of on the doctor track, and you just sort of fall in love with cardio. How can you not fall in love with cardio? It's like that's the organ, right? Like if you think of an organ, that's the one.
Yeah. It's it's either that or the brain. You know what I mean?
Right, and those are the two. And
right.
And you can live. I mean, I don't. This might come out sounding a little more sort of harsh than it should, but you can live without a brain for a while.
Yeah.
And people do.
Yeah.
Not that I would recommend it, but
right.
you can't live without a heart. Like when the heart quits beating, you
done.
are done.
Yeah.
And we actually had a great conversation with a good buddy of mine who is a cardiologist on our podcast not too long ago. Same thing, and he put it eloquently, and you're like, oh yeah, think about that. But when the heart stops beating,
that's it.
It's over.
It's sayonara. And
Yeah.
It's every other organ. We can come up with other options. You need brain, we can't do that. But anything else, there's heart transplants, of course, but
that's amazing.
Different story.
Yeah. So where did you end up going through school?
So I went to Maryville University, a little D2 school in St. Louis. And then after that, I went to the University of Missouri in Columbia for medical school. And then University of Minnesota in Minneapolis for internal medicine training.
Oh, cool.
And then that's where I met my wife. And somehow I dragged her from the Great White North down to the southwest mountains of Albuquerque, where we spent 3 years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was a really cool time in our life,
Yeah.
But, you're still sort of adulting, but learning how to, be in a committed relationship in your first house, and
right.
It was just fond memories. It was really great. And then after that, I went to Salt Lake. We went to Salt Lake.
Oh, cool.
So we were there for 2 years, where I learned how to do the surgical stuff for
Okay.
electrophysiology, and that's where we had our daughter. And then
Very
now we've
cool.
been here for 9 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is
Cool.
such a journey. I'm so fascinated learning, the story of people who go through the medical school and all that kind of stuff, because it's just, I mean, any education to me is a journey, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But when you go to medical school and stuff, it takes you all over the country. You learn all these things,
Yeah.
and then just the pressure that you must feel. I mean, I would feel that way, and the amount that you're learning, the amount you have to learn it in, and all that kind of stuff is just so fascinating. So the mindset, we talk about that all the time, the power of lifting being also the power of the mind in this podcast. What was that journey like? Like you said, the initial part was fun, like that change, growing up, all that kind of stuff. But throughout that process, was it hell? Was it okay? How was that for you?
Oh man, you know the answer already. It was all the above, right?
There we go.
It's you sort of you get taken to the depths of hell and back, and I guess that's where I'll start. Like while I was in medical training, there were weeks that I would be working 120 hours a week as a physician in a hospital. And
and they still trust you to see patients.
It's number one, astonishing, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. But number two, I would still trust those doctors to this day to do that, because you get in this mind frame. You're uber focused, man. Like you just know that these are the things that can't happen because someone can die. This is what has to be done. The rest you can sort of figure out. And so you just get in this real compartmentalized state of just making sure you don't F up too bad, right?
Yeah.
And there's I don't recommend that, but there's value there. There's a training value in there.
Yeah.
By the end of that, you walk into a hospital in the morning, even if you're tired, and you're like, I can handle anything that comes in this door. Yeah. Anything that comes here, I will get them through the night until whatever happens.
That's awesome.
So there was value there, and that was I would never do it again. It was awful. It was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's part of the thing. And so that to your question, that's the depths of that, to go through these, like, it's essentially sleep deprivation. Right?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
And at the same time, like my dad died when I was a cardiology fellow. He died on Christmas Eve. 16 hours before that, my grandmother died.
Oh wow.
Oh,
so
man.
you get these things, and you're like, I'm not around for it. I'm sort of gallivanting around the country and training, and giving all my attention to other people.
Right.
And not present for the family. So that there's a lot of hard stuff.
There's a lot of things you got to give up.
There's so much you got to give, and it's not like I'm not saying that as a woe is me, but
It's
these are
reality.
the things. This is a reality, right? Like these are the things that drive you to where you get, and these are the experiences that you remember. And at the same time, you talk about those as depths, or losing patients that shouldn't die. It never goes away. Like that never. I can tell you all their names. I can tell you most of their family names and their family members' names. But then also it's the heights, right? Like no one lets anyone into their life like they let your doctor into. The questions you can ask, and that power is that is so awesome. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it is crazy. You know, all of those extreme experiences, those things that are so difficult. You know, those are the things that you remember, right? It's like those are the ones that stick with you, and it's like, you know, it's like when you get done going through that process, it's like you're like, man, that sucked, but at the same time, it's like you're so grateful. It's like you're riding that high.
The gratitude,
Yeah, I was listening to, of course, Joe Rogan. Who doesn't listen to Joe Rogan? He had Dan Crenshaw on, who went through buds and you know, got his trident and everything, and he's like, he was talking about how, you know, a lot of guys, when they finish buds, and you know, they basically, there's like a little ceremony or whatever that, you know, they graduate and get their stuff, whatever, they're done, they're through Hell Week and all that stuff. And he's like, you know, your sleep deprivation is so extreme, and he's like, but I couldn't sleep. He's like, I couldn't sleep. He's like, you literally want to go out and like, you don't want to go to sleep after you've not slept more than 3 hours in a week. You know, and so I always think about like going through those extreme circumstances and the physiological response that you get from, you know, just your body, and, you know, you realize your real ability to push through just the circumstances. It's just absurd.
And like we even said, I mean, we did it, you know, sort of accidentally. You just came across it, but the things that your body can tolerate, and the things it cannot tolerate, is a stunning delta. I mean, it's a stun. That still to this day is stunning to me.
Yeah.
You know?
So what are some of the most extreme things that you've seen? You know, obviously practicing medicine for how long? 15 years now?
Yeah, I guess I was done with medical school in 2005. So
okay,
16 years.
16 years. Wow. So do some of the extreme things that you've seen stick out to you still?
In sort of a funny way, though.
Yeah.
I would say that. So let me describe in very gross terms what I do on a daily basis. I go into the heart and I burn beating heart tissue, like many times.
Right.
And so this is while someone is sleeping. Okay. And then if you sit, and I do it all day, it's sort of routine, you don't think about it, but like every single day, all around the country, all around the world, there are people like me doing the exact same thing, where they go into beating hearts and burn. And you like, that's incredible that like billions of people don't die at our hands every day. It's stunning, right?
Yeah.
And to juxtapose that, it's when something bad does happen, you're like, how the hell did that happen? Nothing went wrong. Like everything was perfect. And so I think it's those, I think it's sort of the mundane things that really stand. There's you know, all sorts of like really big, crazy things that happen. But speaking of which, you know, there's this Drew Robinson. Have you seen this story on ESPN?
Mm-mm.
This professional baseball player ended up shooting himself. I mean, he was going through this massive, and I would encourage all your readers to read it, because it is just a heartwarming, incredible story. But he actually, so I'm a huge baseball fan, and he played for the St. Louis Cardinals for a little while. And so he was going through massive depression and anxiety, and like 90% of the other our population is probably right now. So not getting the help he needs, continues to struggle, and decides to go with a suicide attempt and shoots himself, you know, right in the temple. Hits nothing. I mean, doesn't kill him.
Wow.
Like, avoids most major organs.
Oh wow.
Like, you know, millimeters from like, he should be dead. I guess easy, but he doesn't. And he loses his eye. But like, how does that happen? How do you have a gun to your head and it avoids all these major things? That's just astonishing. It's astonishing, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we get to see stuff like that on not to that degree, but you're in the hallway and you're talking to your buddy and you're like, how did he live this? This is just
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, no, it is. It's crazy. So what fascinated you with getting into cardiology specifically?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. That's the organ. Like,
right.
That's your organ. Everyone knows your pulse. Everyone can feel your heart.
Yeah.
It's like, it's internal, but it's palpable. It's immediately palpable.
Right.
And and also grandfather having an MI and being on
right.
the hard floor, and so you're just like, man, this is the stuff. This is the cool stuff. And at the time, it was still, it's the number one killer of people on earth is cardiovascular disease, and so it sort of went hand in hand with what I was doing or what I was doing, and so I think it's not a great sort of story as to why, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, though. I mean, I can definitely see the fascination. So, number one killer in the world, right? Heart disease.
Number one killer in the world.
Right?
Yeah.
Numero uno.
Yeah.
So, and that's a big thing that ties us together. Obviously, at different levels, we're both trying to prevent that.
Right.
In a big way.
Big way.
And like you mentioned in your questionnaire, you're looking for a way to be able to impact more people and get your words in their ears before they're laying on your table. You know what I mean? Because you're dealing with people that are basically sick. They already have issues, things like that, and hopefully the work that we do here in the gym, and any gym specifically, can counteract that. So, what are some of your views on that? Like, what do people need to be doing on a daily basis to avoid seeing you, and what advice do you give your patients?
Oh man, we could talk about that for
days.
Sure.
I mean, that rings my bell, man. That is in my wheelhouse. It's I literally tell that to patients all day. Like, my goal is for you to not see me except for out in the real world.
Right.
Because it's several things. Number one, the top 10 things that kill people, many of them are preventable.
Right.
And so let's just focus on cardiologists, because that's what I do. But all the diseases that lead to cardiovascular morbidity are essentially preventable. Afib, hypertension, sleep apnea, coronary disease, bad lipids, obesity.
Right.
All these things contribute to coronary disease, which kills people, right? And so, as an estimate, you could probably say, I feel confident that there are studies showing 65% of all coronary disease or heart disease is preventable.
Wow.
Right.
I think it's much higher. I think it's underappreciated.
I can subscribe to that.
Yeah, right. I mean, so I'm going to go with 80%. That might be an overestimate, might still be an underestimate, but that's my back of the napkin. And so, and then you think about just the cost of the sheer cost of healthcare. Healthcare represents about 20% of the gross domestic product in the United States, which is an insane number.
Insane.
It's not even a fathomable number, right?
No.
Right. That is crazy.
And so, should we be doing everything in our power to prevent people from coming to see us? I mean, has there been a stupider question ever asked?
Right.
Yeah, clearly we need to do that.
Yeah.
We are a society of sick care. This is not healthcare anymore. The healthcare system it's not broken.
Right.
But it is massively dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So many competing interests. No one really wants to have any real healthcare reform.
Yeah.
I'm not faulting any particular one, because this is a system that we've all sort of ascribed to, but it is hard to sort of reverse the Titanic at this point.
Yeah.
Because think if you want to talk about insurance reform, well, you talk about insurance, tons of people could lose their jobs, right? And so it's a really, really difficult issue to solve. But yes, do I think that absolutely we can prevent these things?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do I think that people coming to the Mecca Gym every day is going to help prevent that stuff? There is no question about that.
Right.
And so when I talk to patients about it and tell them how to prevent things, I try and tell them there's 3 or 4 or 5 things they really have to focus on.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you're the CEO of your body, right?
Right.
No one cares about you as much as you do.
Right.
And that's not narcissistic. That's not mean. That's just factual.
I think that a lot of people really go wrong with that. You know what I mean? I mean, they don't take control of what they are doing, what they can do, you know? And I've said it a ton of times probably on this podcast, but, you know, people need to be putting their health first. Numero uno, because if you don't have that, you're not going to get to spend the time with your wife and kids. You're not going to get to do fun things. You're not going to be able to do fun things. It's like, you know, and so
constant
I think
state of worry, so you find peace in life.
And so we have, you know, these politicians that are constantly focused on, healthcare reform. And it's like, guys, we're missing the boat here.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you mean? Like, what? And with COVID last year, I mean, just insanity, right? Altogether, when, you know, you look at the impact of this disease on healthy people, and it's nothing. You know, it's nothing. Really, statistically speaking, it's nothing.
No, I mean, there's truth to that.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
And so, you know, if everybody was, you know, a Dr. Noonan or an Eric or Hunter that exercises daily, eats a very nutritious diet, you know, focuses on their health, like, you know, we would have far less problems. You would have far less patients, far less work.
Bring it on any day. I feel like I might be one of the only people in the world who is actively trying to have less people come to my quote unquote place of business.
Right.
I'm sabotaging myself.
It's amazing. Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's. My daughter says this, and I love it because my daughter is 8 years old.
So innocent.
Love it.
Right? And it's like brilliant knowledge, and it's so simple. She asked me one day, she said, "Who do you love the most?" And I was like, "Well, I love you and mommy the most."
Right.
Shook her head. She said, "No, you got to love yourself the most." And I was like, shit. I just got schooled by a second grader.
Yeah.
And it's true. You have to love yourself the most. And that's not egotistical. That's not narcissistic. That is you loving yourself the most so that you can take care of the other people, so that you can be the person that you want to be for your society, for your community, for your family. And, you know, I get a little heated about it because I feel extremely passionate about it. Yeah. And if folks, you know, you can boil it down to 4 or 5 things, right? And you've said them. You know, if you can eat a nutritious diet, and that, I'm not even going to get into what that means for people. Most people know what it is. Keep it real simple.
Right.
Eat less food.
Right.
Eat real food, and mostly plants. And that's just factual. And if people want to eat meat, that's cool. And if you want to eat a lot of fish, that's cool. You got to do those things healthy, and you got to do them smart. Right. But you got to eat a lot of plants. End of story. And so you keep that real simple. You got to take care of your exercise. You have to take care of your exercise for so many reasons. If we could take and put these things in a pill, it'd be the greatest pill ever made. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then to sort of basically go along with what we talked about earlier, sleep.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sleep.
That's, I cannot overstress the importance of that. It's crazy. I mean, so, you know, what do you see with sleep in your practice?
Yeah.
Like what?
Shit, man.
Yeah.
People sleep terrible.
Pandora's box,
oh,
right?
Yeah, it's so true. And I'll tell you just an anecdote is.
Sorry, yeah, let's work on that.
Yeah, I think
I don't know why
I
it's
could
been
be screwing up my mic. Sorry, podcast people. We're just gonna do some mic maintenance while we're.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. So I've been massively sleep deprived probably for 3 decades, right?
I can relate.
I mean, I think probably
a
everybody
large
has.
percentage of the population, right?
Yeah, I mean, just massively sleep.
So medically speaking, what does that do to us physiologically from your perspective?
So let's keep it real simple just at first. And so I wear these whoop straps.
Yeah, those are really cool.
These are really cool.
Whoop
and
straps.
The Aura and or Oura ring, you know, they all do the same thing. But basically, they're looking at the quality of your sleep. So how long you get to sleep, the quality of your sleep in that, what was your efficiency, what was your latency, and then your parameters overnight. You know, how many disturbances did you have, and your heart rate variability, I'll get into a second, your resting heart rate, your respiratory rate, and then the stages of your sleep cycle.
Right.
And so when you start to analyze these things, the importance of them is nothing less than paramount. And so if you think about sort of the consequences of not sleep, it affects every organ system in your body.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, cellular regeneration, right?
Oh, man.
And that's every cell in your body.
Right.
You know?
It's your body.
It's right. And we're screwing it up. The body knows what to do.
Yeah.
We're the ones that mess it up. And then we like to blame other people for it.
Right.
Silly people.
I know, right? But if you do the things you're supposed to do, your stress levels go down, your cortisol levels go down, your heart rate variability goes up because your parasympathetic surges go up and your your sympathetic surges go down.
Yeah.
And the importance of that. So think about just being in a state of stress.
Right.
So just take one thing, the heart rate variability, which is a reflection of your autonomic nervous system and how it's balanced, right? This is sort of the classic sympathetic sort of fight or flight thing versus your parasympathetic rest and digest.
Right.
And they are in a sort of constant flow of
it's kind of yin and yang.
It's yin and yang. And when you are always sleep deprived, that sympathetic one goes way up, your parasympathetic ones go down, your heart rate variability goes in the tank, and then you're suddenly at a constant state of internal stress. So imagine being in a dream with a saber-toothed tiger,
all the time.
And that you live like that during the day, you live like that. And this is just like one example, right? Not even talking about what it does to the internal workings of your mind, which is a completely different thing. So your body needs rest, man. And I'm as guilty as anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't realize it until I started wearing this 3 years ago.
Okay.
I was terrible. I was a surgeon. Like, I'm sitting there working my buns off all day.
Right.
And I go home and I got to go to the gym. And
you got a life.
Got a life, right?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I do not miss sleep now.
Yeah.
And I slept chronically for 4 hours a night. I don't know, years.
Yeah.
20, 30 years.
Yeah.
But I feel so much better getting 8 hours of sleep unequivocally, without a doubt, every single night. Even if I'm like, I want to stay up and party, or I want to stay up and see my buddies, or I want to go to the gym later or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Priority.
And that's
priority. You said it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about the word priority? You said it right, which I love. People talk about priorities. Priority was never a plural word. We have made it into a plural word, and so now Hunter has priorities.
Right.
That's ridiculous. You have priority. It's one word.
Right.
We're putting too much stuff in our day. We're putting way too many things that are like top of our list, which adds to all this stress.
Agreed.
And we don't think about it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. You can scroll through even Instagram, and there's just, I guess you could call it the business, the entrepreneurial mindset of where it is you have, like, if you're not sleeping, like, 4 hours a night, you're failing.
Right.
Or, like, if you don't have a list, like, here's your top priorities, and then they list out 12 things.
Yep.
And then all that kind of stuff, and how backwards it is from reality. And that's one of the reasons, just Eric said this at the beginning, why we have this podcast. What Eric lives to do is to educate people. And don't pay attention to that. Listen to what we have to say. This is the real stuff.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, you're totally right. I mean, I stress sleep so much to people. If something's not going right with whatever their goal is, how much sleep are you getting? It's like the first question I
love it, actually. I can attest to that. I'll hear him phone calls, a person walks in, Eric, I need to talk to you, this is going wrong. First question, are you sleeping? How do you sleep?
That's really awesome. That's incredibly insightful.
Well, thank you. But my downfall is I need to take a sliver of my own advice there, and I would say that's the one thing that I give up. Which is wrong. It should be the last thing that any of us give up, arguably, right?
I mean, you can make a very good point for that, right?
Yeah, I mean...
And I'd like to put it, it's funny, since we're doing this, the powerlifting podcast, but I use a weightlifting example for people.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, all the time. For sleep.
Oh, okay.
So people are in a gym, guys they're looking big. Guys and gals are looking big, checking themselves out. They do their curls and stuff, and it's great. And you're like, most people think that's when you're building muscle. Is that when you're building muscle?
That's when you're tearing it down.
That's when you're breaking it down, man.
Yeah.
That is when you are tearing muscle. You are not building anything. You are doing the opposite of building.
No, you are not doing any building in the gym.
All that muscle building happens while you're sleeping and while you're not using those muscles. And your brain needs the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You are constantly, from the second you wake up until the second you go to sleep, and then all night while you're dreaming and also, you are always thinking, your mind needs to rest, and it needs that rest in those deep sleep. So you need that REM of 2 hours a night, or deep sleep of another hour a night. So you need those 3 hours where your mind's not doing anything in order for it to grow and be healthy the next day. Because if there was no rest, if we were working out all the time, we wouldn't last 3 days.
No.
I mean, we wouldn't last any time, right? And so think about it in just terms of that, and you're like, oh, I guess I sort of get, you really do. Like, that's your time of growth, and it is your time of growth.
Interesting.
You know? Cellular regeneration, all that stuff. It's like, you can feel the difference too. I mean, we could, talk for hours on the benefits of sleep, I'm sure, but I mean, just the way that you feel, I see a huge difference. If I have a night of good sleep versus a night of not good sleep, I mean, I can totally relate when you say, years of 4 hours of sleep. I mean, just recently I've started to swear off like 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. sessions with people. Like, I'm working towards, later this year, not starting work until 7 or 8 a.m. because it's just become so obvious to me the detriment that it causes. I legitimately, on nights that I don't sleep as good, I can't freaking think. It kills me. I feel like I used to be able to like recall information and just, blah, 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 everything super quick. And it's not that I can't all the time, but I notice that if I get less sleep, that ability just like, it'll just be a void in my brain. And I'm like,
And you didn't realize, the funny thing is, you at least for me, I'm curious to hear what it is for either of you guys, but you don't realize it until you get a string of good sleeps. And then you go back to that pattern and you're like, shit.
The contrast is extreme.
And you sort of need that, right? Like to open your eyes to it, because you don't know. You're like, I'm functioning great, man. I'm the picture of health. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. I'm training people at 5. I'm home. But honestly, there's detriment there, and you don't see it until your eyes get open to it.
It's like, for me, the eye-opening moment was going on a vacation where I didn't have, like, I had zero commitments, and my kids were old enough that they were sleeping through the night, and, I strung probably, almost 2 straight weeks of solid sleep together, and I felt superhuman. It was absurd.
It is absurd.
And it's just it's such a big change.
The other thing I like to talk to people about, no one has anything to do about this. Like the eyes, their faces just go, you're kidding me. So if you actually wear one of these straps and you measure your metabolic activity at night, on 8 hours of sleep, on average, I will burn 800 to 1,000 calories of just sitting there sleeping. Right? And so they do that.
I gave you the eyebrows. That's right.
No, and this is true, and it's a thing. And in fact, I'll wake up and sometimes, you look at your heart rates, and it's 1,000 calories. And so that's a time to maximize stuff, man. And I'll pivot here a little bit, but when I like doing intermittent fasting. I talk to people a lot about that and when they should eat their last meals, and this is the beauty of it, right? Like, the body is diurnal. The body is diurnal.
What does diurnal mean?
So it has a day and night cycle.
Okay.
The liver has a day and night cycle. So your liver only works 10 hours a day of maximum efficiency.
Okay.
So once you start eating in the morning, you got about 10 hours where it's going to be spitting out enzymes and you're going to metabolize stuff. After that, you're not going to metabolize it very well. And so all that food sitting in your stomach, mostly of it's going to get turned to fat because you're not doing anything, and it's sitting there in the middle of the night. And so in the middle of the night, while it's sitting there, you could have been burning 1,000 calories on an empty stomach, doing nothing but sleeping, which is uber healthy. Instead, your body is busy breaking down the stuff that you ate because you ate too late. So it's no thing that, we know when we go to college and you're sitting up, you drink beers and eat pizza and whatever, and so all of a sudden you gain 20 pounds and you're like, well, clearly, even though you're exercising, doing all the things.
Yeah.
It's because you're doing it late at night, which is a terrible, terrible thing to do, and it causes your sleep to be bad.
Yeah, eating too big of meals at night can be a huge problem. You feel that too if you eat too big of a meal at night. You like, it's like getting the meat sweats all night long. You know what I mean?
It's true.
It's like
waking up in a sandwich bag.
Well, you just feel like you don't quite digest things as well,
And you don't.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, and it's again everyone's diet. So again, this is not medical advice. You sort of have to talk to your medical professional, but depending on your goals, there's a point where you just can't be eating at night because you're doing yourself harm. You're not letting your body recover.
Well, and that kind of boils down to in a lot of the literature, recently there, as far as in the the exercise science realm, they're starting to look more. Well, not starting. They've been doing it, but they're looking at a little bit of meal timing and meal frequency and things of that nature. And, I can't stress enough to all these bodybuilders who are like, I need to eat every 2 hours on the hour. And I'm just like, no, you cannot do that. Like, you cannot have, it's not even good to have a constant flow of amino acids. Like, quit drinking branch chain amino acids between every meal.
That's right.
Like, 4 meals a day is what they found to be optimal for muscle growth, for all these things. And so I think that there's a lot to that, and I'm not a big proponent for or against fasting. As a matter of fact, the last person we had on here was a big fasting guy, and we actually see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, which probably surprises a lot of people. But there's quality information there, and just looking physiologically what food does to your body. And the thing that I stress to people, I actually had this conversation with a client today, is start looking at food as a way to fuel your body. I mean, it's insanely simple.
Yes.
Right? Insanely simple. Stop looking at food as like, oh, I want to eat this. Right. It's like, no, what should you be doing? What should you be eating right now to make yourself feel the best?
So
true, the best.
Is eating that cookie going to make you feel the best? Well, it's going to feel good going in.
Right.
You get that, blood sugar spike. I mean, that's going to feel pretty
yummy.
good. That's going to release some good, dopamine and whatnot. But if you fast forward an hour later, what has that done for you? Probably not great things, unless I will stipulate. A few weeks ago, I ate an entire, because one of our guests sent us cookies after, and damn her for that. But
exactly. But thank you.
But thank you. And I'm like, well, I have, an hour to an hour and a half until I'm going to be on the biking trail. I need carbs. I need calories right now. So I slammed a cookie, and I crushed it. It was great. And so now it's like, a little bit of sugar, pre-workout, that's the move. So, but still, looking at that from a purely physiological standpoint, if you're going to eat something like that, that would be the time.
That's the time. Right?
It's not at, 12 midnight when you're, having a cocktail and eating cheesecake with buddies, it's, so looking at food in order to optimally fuel yourself. So on the nutrition topic, how much are you able to really guide and coach a lot of your patients? Because the information that you have to give, aside from just treating their issues, is so I see that as the most valuable thing that you have to give, right? All of these lessons that you can deduce from just having the vast knowledge base you do about the human body. So do you feel like you're able to make an impact on that in your practice, or does that frustrate you a little bit?
Almost completely the latter. It's a sick care system. The system doesn't. It's not set up to do that, and it is extremely frustrating. So I do what I can, but so what I've actually gone to is I've taken. I've written out paragraphs of good starting exercise routines and good starting diet routines, good magnesium supplementation, good overall supplements to take, and how for people to sleep as far as parameters. And so I will put them in my note. And now, even if I can't discuss it, because often I just don't have the time, then they can at least read it. And so it's sort of taking a broadsword to something that requires a fine-tooth comb, but you're sort of limited to do what you can. But I put it in all of my patient encounters. I bring it up as much as possible and do what you can, but it's a limitation. But this is the thing why I love doing these podcasts, because I can reach, when I'm a doctor, I can reach one person at a time.
Right.
I can reach a plethora of people, and we can talk about this stuff.
Right.
So that's. Yeah.
So what are your key takeaways or your key pieces of advice, I should say, for, heart health with your patients and just people in general? We mentioned diet, exercise. Is there any specific things that you kind of get into the weeds a little bit with?
Yeah, there are. And I still think that focusing on sort of these 5 things, so nutrition, I hate the word diet, as I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
But
that phrase has been said multiple times on this podcast.
Yeah, and before I get into that too, to your previous point, just about it's fasting or all of this stuff with nutrition. I think it all plays a role. Some keto, some intermittent fasting, whatever it is. I think a lot of them play a role. The key is metabolic flexibility, because your body is so smart.
Absolutely.
It gets used to whatever you're doing to it, and if it finds ways to subvert what you're trying to do to it, because it wants tricks as well. Right. It's the path of least resistance. Yeah. And so if you're always keto, you're going to lose the bang for your buck at some point.
Absolutely.
That's just true. And so there has to be metabolic flexibility.
The law of adaptation, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think, and this is sort of Noonan's rule, and maybe I don't, if I'm stealing it from someone, I don't intend to be, but if you could focus on nutrition, sleep, exercise, emotional health, I think those are the things.
And you see those implications in your practice as well.
Oh, I mean, you see them here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When someone comes in and they're like, dude, I don't know, I can't, this is plateau, right? Like I can't get over this plateau. And what I love about bodybuilders is that there's no group of human beings on earth who can get through a plateau better than bodybuilders. They know what they're doing. And so, people do that, and they just don't realize the main thing is to keep the main thing, right? And this is one of my favorite things to tell you. You are overcomplicating things. Keep it real simple. Dial in your nutrition.
Yeah.
Dial in your exercise. Dial in your sleep. Dial in your emotions. And then, goals, if it's your community, if it's your church, if it's your relationships, but you focus on those 4 things, everything in your life will be better. And you would never have to come see me. If I could put those things in a pill, greatest pill, it would cure the top 10 things that kill people outside of cancer. Right. And maybe even some cancers.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm frustrated at work. I can't do it. Yeah. It's just like they come to work and they want an ablation or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, but okay, we'll try these other things. I'll do this, but like we're putting a Band-Aid over this,
Yeah. And the thing I really admire about you and a lot of the other guests we've had on here is, you walk in the door here and it's like, you're jacked doctor, great shape, like, that's the thing, like it's very apparent that you practice what you preach and practice what you believe, and that's what really this podcast is all about, is like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, what's your mindset like when it comes to, managing your own health? I know we mentioned, putting yourself as number one. You got to love yourself before you love anyone else.
That's right.
So what other approaches do you take in order to stay on top of it?
It is a constant work in progress, and it probably changes like it does for all of us.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
It's the process, the progress.
That's right. And I've said this, I say this all the time, and I feel like I'm a broken record, but complacency, so there was a book in the Middle Ages called the Canterbury Tales. Mm-hmm. Terribly boring book that everyone was forced to read growing up. But what I remember from it was avarice is the greatest evil, right? So the love of money, or the greed for money. And I've taken it to sort of adapt it to my own and say, I think complacency is the greatest evil. And if you become complacent, I hope you recognize it, because that is the beginning to, a step down the wrong rabbit hole. Yeah. So I look at it all the time. I'm a grown-ass man, and I journal. I will write down with a pencil and paper, and I will schedule my stuff. I will plan out the week. Oftentimes have hashtag Sunday meal prep. I do that all the time.
Perfect.
And what I'm noticing is that I'm peeling things away. Like less is more. Tell me that's not true, right?
Yeah, no, that's incredible advice. Yeah.
Just being the essential. Take the essential things. What's going to make you happy? What's going to make your family happy? What's going to make you feel better? And that's going to prime the pump for like this stuff, so you can sort of keep the blinders on for this stuff for other people's priority, right? Because everyone is coming at you with their priority.
Absolutely.
And that's not your priority, and that's okay. And it's okay to recognize that. And when you can do that, then you can do these other 4 things. So the mindset is, I'm going to wake up today. I'm going to be 1% better than I was yesterday. Yeah. Not 20%, just 1. Just be better.
Yeah. And I love that you put that in your questionnaire, and you definitely repeated it several times, is you want to be 1% better each day. And I think that's, amazing advice. A lot of people, we talk about kind of winning each day. That's a common phrase. Or like, having each day, whatever, be successful in your goals and your actions for one day at a time. But I love the fact that you say be 1% better than the day prior, because who wants to just be the same for eternity? Like, we want to get better, so I'm going to steal that from you. Just straight up.
I stole it from someone else too. I feel like I stole it from the Atomic Habits, that James Clear guy.
Oh, okay.
But it's true, right? Like, you just want to be, you just don't want to be worse. And if you are, that's okay too. Yeah. Because honestly, people grow more from their failures, and I hate calling them failures just as much as I hate diet. People grow from not achieving whatever goal they had more than actually achieving the goal.
Yeah, right? I think they fail from not trying, right?
Exactly. No, that's totally right.
The not trying.
Yeah, no, I love the 1% better each day. We can always find some little thing to improve on. Yep. I'm definitely not perfect, guilty, right? There's things that, and there's things that you do that you're like, man, that was a waste. You know what I mean? Like, sure. I need to get that out, But yeah, I would agree. You don't know if you don't try, right? And the failures are key.
One of the things fascinating, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not.
The 1%, like to people listening or whatever, seems extremely small. So maybe it's just like, oh, that's kind of, it is what it is. But then I think once you start seeing the progress and once you start feeling the progress, it almost exponentially grows, especially mentally. And then you feel like you're going 10% more a day. And when it's just 1, and you just continue.
Well, it's just like fat loss, right? I mean, you're slowly creating a caloric deficit. It doesn't all happen. You know what I mean? It's cumulative. It doesn't all happen at once. And, people that are just so afraid to get started in changing their habits in their life so they don't have to be on your table, and these people get really intimidated by, they have this huge mountain to climb. And it's like, all right, you may have a huge mountain, but all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other. And even if you just take one step each day, you will be at the top of that mountain before you know it. If I told you 6 months from now, you can completely change your life in that time and completely do anything you want in that amount of time, then, like, why wouldn't you do it? You know what I mean? It just takes that one day at a time situation.
It's beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. We had a guest, a good buddy of mine, on our podcast a month ago or so. But who does this really well is the recovery community.
Oh, yeah.
The recovery community is really like, hey, man, one day at a time, bro. Like, don't get ahead of yourself. You just congratulate yourself on the day today. And it's the same thing, we see in bodybuilding, right? Like, you walk in a gym and you look, you're like, damn, that dude is jacked.
Yeah.
And then you want to get that jacked. But hey, guess what? You can only build muscle so fast.
Yeah.
You just cannot add that much muscle without steroids. You can't add that much muscle in the course of a year. You can add much, but most of those dudes you're seeing that are jacked and look good, that is years and years and years of building muscle.
Totally.
It is cumulative, right?
Totally.
Same with fat loss. Just like you said, man, that takes time. And if you look at something, you're like, okay, my new goal this year, I write down on my New Year's Eve thing, my new goal is I'm going to be 20% better every day. Well, you're not gonna. You can't. Like you're gonna burn out like in a week. Like you
burn out,
slow down, right?
Your failures compound.
Like set realistic goals. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you mentioned that a little bit, and your crowning achievements. Focusing on, not just having one crowning achievement, but just by being a little bit better, each day. And then you also mentioned, live life in the present and don't, rest on the past. Which is. And then you also mentioned later, I remember to, create your own future, essentially, right?
That's one of my. I'm going to read you two of my quotes. I'm a quote junkie, so I have like this notes section.
Love quotes.
So
I'm a huge
write
fan.
all these things down. I try and read them as much as I can, but. Yeah, I mean, the best way to predict the future is to create that shit. You go create the future, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally that easy. Don't make it more complicated.
You're writing the book, right?
You're writing the book. Like, it's not the thing. The trick, I think, is though, it's your mindset. Like, if you're prepared for whatever happens, you're creating the future. You're being prepared for the future. And whatever happens, and then you are much better at being prepared for what is going to happen.
Right.
So it's more of a mindset than it is a creation.
Absolutely.
Right? But that's the thing, because perception is reality.
Absolutely.
And if you perceive that you're going to do okay this next day, it doesn't matter what comes your way. You are ready to handle it.
Well, it's funny, you run into those people that are kind of the woe is me type of crowd, know, and it's just like I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Because those people, it's weird. You're like, that person must just have bad luck, and it's like, no, they do not have bad luck.
That's right.
That is not a thing.
Yeah.
Like you create every bit of, and it's funny you mentioned like karma and juju in there. I had a good chuckle.
So real, right?
It's so true. Like
true.
You are creating that all on your own with the words that you speak, the energy that you give to other people, the good or bad deeds that you do, your daily routine. You're literally creating your mindset. You're literally creating, either good or bad things.
It's amazing.
If people, so I would take this moment to have folks think about reading the book Emotional Intelligence for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is it really goes through sort of your process of getting information into the brain, where it's stored, in the actual pathways of how this. Number one, even to me, 20, however many years I'm into being a doctor, it is fascinating how the brain works.
Yeah.
It is literally nothing less than fascinating.
Yeah.
But to see what you can do by your own mindset, by talking shit to yourself, by talking negative stuff, if you think for a second that doesn't have deleterious effects, then you are on the wrong planet. Because
for sure.
Just as much as you can talk yourself down, you can talk yourself up.
Absolutely.
Your body knows. You may not think it knows, but wear these whoop straps, wear that Oura ring, or all the other stuff, you will see. And it is tangible, it is palpable,
it
is
is
immediately available.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. We talk about Apple Watches all the time, and just, it's great. We have an app coming out that utilizes all that like wearable technology stuff that we can track and use that for people. It's sweet. But we always talk about data. Like I'm so data driven, it's like, as I'm sure you are, you're constantly looking at trends and looking at things, and it is incredible what you can see with how you feel, your general health. I mean, you can probably see it in people's heart rhythms.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Like that. I'm sure that's crazy.
I tell them all the time. They're like, people ask me, excuse me, do you think stress is playing a role in my Afib? And I do that. I'm like, are you being serious right now? Yeah. Of course it can play. It can perpetuate all your bad heart rhythms. It probably caused your bad heart rhythms.
Yeah.
And the stunning thing is, and it's adorable and it's cute. I actually like it. It's a great interaction, because they're like, oh my God, really? I didn't realize that. And I get it, because I dork out over we dork out over this stuff, right?
Yeah.
They don't. And that's a really cool moment where you get to be like, hey, this and this is connected. This head to heart, there is a real connection.
And that's the podcast name, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and it's
so plug the hell out of that thing.
Yeah,
so
well, that was done accidentally, believe it or not. But that's sort of how we came up with it. Or the name was suggested to us. But
yeah.
The other, while we're on quotes, before I go, because I do want to say, before we move on, I should say, I just want to read my favorite one, because it just gets better every time I read it. It's short.
No, let us have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the Dalai Lama, and when someone asked him about what surprised him most about humanity, the Dalai Lama, he's 90 years old, he's been the ruler of a country since he was 14 years old, he's exiled, he's met all the leaders of a country all over the world. What surprises you the most? Man, he said, man surprises me the most. Man meaning, human being. Because he sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. And then he's so anxious about the future that he doesn't enjoy the present. The result being that he never lives in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then dies having never really lived.
Yeah.
And it's sort of it's a wordy way to say, just live in the present, man.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about all the money stuff. Like, I don't mean that to sound crass. I understand finances are a thing, but like, you don't need to be as rich as people want to be in order to enjoy stuff and be healthy and satisfied.
Right. Yeah. I mean, money does not equal happiness. I mean, if that was the case, you wouldn't have these, crazy rich celebrities offing themselves left and right. I mean, if you've got millions of dollars sitting in your bank account, you can feasibly do whatever the heck you damn well please.
That's right.
Why are you unhappy?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because it doesn't equal happiness.
No, it doesn't. And, and something that I, say semi-frequently is that happiness is bullshit.
Yeah.
Complete, in my opinion, and I said that on the first podcast that I was ever filmed doing, right when the gym opened. I knew these guys that are doing a podcast, and they, asked me about that, and I'm like, I just don't agree with this, try and do all these things to make yourself happy type of behaviors. Like, I don't understand it. Like, what does that even mean? What does happiness even mean? Happiness is like a moment, and an emotion that's like a moment in time. It's not a way of living. Like, if you expect to be happy all the time,
you are 100% going to be disappointed,
miserable.
The opposite of happy.
You're gonna be miserable.
And it's okay to be it's okay to not be happy, right? Like,
for
because
sure.
at the end of the day, and this is also in this emotional intelligence book that I people should read, is that take all the emotions, man. Like all the like anger, sadness, like bereavement, happiness, just being purely pissed off. Take the emotion in, label the emotion, say, that's me being pissed.
Yeah.
Think about it, and then move on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So you were pissed. Now move on. What is that going to do by harboring that?
Yeah, work through that shit, man.
Yeah, man, just work through it. Move on.
I mean, it's funny, it's like asking you, like, were you happy when you were going through med school, when you were, in your residency, all that, when you were working 120 plus hours a week? Were you happy? Generally speaking, probably not.
No, I was miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay, because that's growth, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
This is part of the thing. No, so I agree. I agree with the sentiment there. I know what you're saying.
One of the things, the personal life is, and a lot of people experience these as well, is the anxiety or panic attacks, right?
Oh, man.
That are just crippling, and you feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
What fascinating to me was learning that you let that stuff come through you, because everyone wants to run away from it, try to prevent it.
Yeah.
But once it's happening, when you try to run away from it, it's a very prime way of explaining that aspect of what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Like, and the more you fight it, the worse it's going to get.
Oh,
and if you let it run through you, and then it's just like, okay, well, that sucked.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then we're going to move on.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about, you say, reducing stress, mindfulness, meditation, things like that. So what are some of the things that you utilize to work through some of that stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let's be very honest. I am no expert in these. I'm just like all of us. Like, I try and figure it out. I have stressful days like the rest of us too. It is interesting to me that there's the process of how you become stressed.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'll go on a little bit of a soliloquy, so I'm sorry if I bore us to death, but you think about anxiety and stress and sort of where this is going and how it happens, man. Like, it happens like this, right?
Yeah.
See a snake, before you even registered that you saw the snake, your erector pili are flexing, you're sweating, you're a little nauseous. You didn't even know a snake was there yet.
Yeah.
It happens that fast.
Yeah.
So the things in your mind are so interconnected. So you see it from your eyes, goes through the cortex, and then finally it goes into your brain, right? And that is hardwired into the part of the brain, so in the limbic system, that is the original brain, so the back part of the brain.
Right.
When we think about brain, we think about, the gyri and the prefrontal cortex, and that is relatively new in human development.
Right.
A lot of it started back here, and it started in things like the amygdala, the hippocampus, the thalamus, the brainstem.
Yep.
All that stuff is where all this autonomic nervous inputs are.
Right.
So they happen immediately. So someone's kid pisses them off, someone's coworker, someone flips you off on the road, whatever it is. You have this system set in so that it goes super, super fast, and you get reactions, physiologic and emotional, before you can even have any ability to have any degree of cognition about it, so you can't think about it. So when people say to you, if you get really pissed, sit and think about it for 10 seconds. Don't say a thing. And people, they sort of nod their head and go, oh, yeah, okay, I'll think about it. And they just sit there and they stew, and they just get pissed off.
They stew.
And you're like, you're missing the point. Because the point is to take that in.
Right.
Take it in, recognize it's there. Don't push it away. If you push it away, you're just going to piss it off, and it's only going to get worse, right? So you take it in, you label it, and you say, yeah, I'm pissed. Oh, yeah, I'm pissed. Okay. And then you think about it. You count to 10, you count to 20, take a big, deep breath, and you're just sitting there. But in your body, there's so much happening there.
Yeah.
Your brain is going nuts because your limbic system is saying, you got to be pissed. There's a saber-toothed tiger trying to get you.
Right.
But it's not a saber-toothed tiger. In today's day and age,
Right.
it's anxiety at work or whatever it is. It's like these things that aren't going to kill you immediately.
Right.
But that primitive system is still there, and it's
Yeah.
still firing. And so you have to give your prefrontal cortex a little bit of time to sort of think about, okay, do I need to road rage this guy because he cut me off? Because then I could go to jail. And what if he's a dude? What if he has a gun and he wants to shoot me? You give that some time, right? And I'm using big sort of ugly examples to make a point. But so your question is what I do. Well, I try and meditate every day. And I've been doing that for a long time, and I flailed like everyone else. You sit around, you don't know what you're doing. You're thinking about shit for 15 minutes, and you don't know what happened. But over time, it gets better, and
you learn.
You learn, right? And you have these fleeting moments where you're sort of like your own set of eyeballs outside of your body. So when you can see your own body, that you've gotten to a point of meditating where you can see your thoughts and you can see sort of outside this vessel that we have. That's a big moment. That's a big moment because you can see that you aren't your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. Think about that for a second. You're not your thoughts. You are your brain. Your brain's making those thoughts, but when you can see those thoughts, you realize that a lot of them you have no control over.
Right.
And so I spend a lot of time doing that. And let's also be very honest. Am I perfect about it? No, absolutely not. Are there weeks, months that go by and I don't meditate? Generally not months, but there's definitely time.
What does meditation look like to you?
Oh, that's a great question. That takes so many forms. I think on the spot, I'd say that just being able to quiet your mind from the constant, incessant voice inside your head is maybe a goal. It's not a definition, but it's a goal of sort of what you want to do. I think that'll be my answer. Right. But to pivot from that, it's interesting to me that when people say I can't meditate because my voice, too many voices in my head, I can't quiet my mind.
Right.
That's the point of meditation, is so you quiet all those things.
Yeah.
So you turn all this stuff down, right? And so I would say that to me, that's what it's like is to get my mind quiet, that I can literally just focus on being right here in the present. And that has so many effects that are beneficial down the line that you don't even know are happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. You might even say it's one of the fourth or fifth things that I would add as being like the things we need to concentrate on.
I mean, I think, anecdotally, I would say that exercise is my form of that.
Yeah. No, and I'm 100% with you. I say that all the time. Yeah. I say it all the time.
And there's just something about when you're having a good workout in whatever form. And I, like, for me, a lot of that is on my bike right now, because when you're on a bike, or like even if I ride the Peloton or whatever, something like that, you're literally clipped in. Yeah. You're literally stuck. Your hands are busy. Yeah. You can't be on this. Yeah. Right. You can't be on your phone.
The ultimate distractor.
The ultimate anxiety causer.
100% true.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, for me personally, I think that is, the way that I meditate. And it's almost, 100%. It takes a while. Like if I'm on a ride, I'd say the first 45 minutes, my brain is a million miles an hour.
You're doing the
analyzing every muscle that's firing, analyzing my heart rate, analyzing my life. You know what I mean? Like everything that was in my head. And I feel like I literally have to exercise myself half to death, and then everything shuts off. And I think that's partially why I have an addiction to exercise, which I'm fully willing to admit. And if there was an addiction to have, I would argue that that's the best one to have.
I couldn't agree more.
It could, yes.
But
be a whole lot worse than that.
Regardless,
no, 100%.
Do you see that?
Oh, not even see it. I literally say that every day. And my wife, when she describes, if you would ask my wife, how does Dan meditate? She'd be like, he goes to the gym. It's true. The gym and the Peloton. Like, what I love about it is I'm in my own head.
Yep.
I don't need anyone else. I don't need my phone is nothing. And what I put out, it gives back. Mm-hmm. The weights don't talk back to me. They don't try to ask me to do anything. They're there. My effort and their effort, they equal one another.
Yep.
And in order to do that, and so I don't get hurt, I have to think. And so you go in and you are already only thinking about one thing.
Yeah.
Name another time in a day when you're not thinking about just one thing.
Right. Yeah.
So what a great time to like sit and focus and be like, oh man, it's sort of a cheater method.
Yeah. Yeah. And I seriously think that if there was one thing that I could like give people is that gift of knowing what that's like. I feel like a lot of people haven't had that introduction to movement and haven't had that introduction to exercise. And there's a lot of people that just don't feel that when they exercise, and it's like, man, I feel so like I want to give that gift to you, man. Like just let it be. And I have several clients have mentioned that to me, and that's like it's hard to like put in a social media post to package that as like a selling point, and it's not that I'm trying to like sell people on coaching because like, oh, I can teach you how to do this magical thing called but like to me it's more so one of those things that's like very fulfilling to me is when I have people that signed up for training with me and they had not at all had any passion for exercise. They literally started doing it for vanity and for health. They knew they needed to do it.
And that's okay, man. Like
totally
that's
cool,
totally
man.
Fine. Great.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not an artist. Caleb, I was talking to Caleb the other day. He told me this. He's like, I'm not an artist. This is my art. Like, I want to sculpt this. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. I like what you
for sure.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, but when people, whatever leads them to the path of exercise, like if they come back to me later and say, now I feel like this is something that I have to do. I am compelled to do this on the day. I'm like, my work here is done.
Exactly. I mean, it's true.
My work here is done. It's just,
hands, get it done.
It's like, oh man, you just made my day. You don't know it, but you just made my day.
True.
It's so special. So,
yeah. So meditate in the gym, man. Like that's a big deal. I like that.
So, things you're most proud of course, another question that we asked, your wife, your daughter, that's, so we can both relate to that. Hunter has twin little girls that are what?
They just turned 2 on Friday.
Oh man,
Yep.
you look incredible for being so stressed.
Very
busy.
And, you know, I have my 2 boys and you have your daughter. And so I think we can all relate to that, being like, you know, people that, you know, are not parents yet. It's something else. I mean,
it's hard to even describe. I mean, it's sort of like I had an example. I'm gonna forget the example, but it's so obvious. You look at it, but you can't really appreciate it until it happens, and then the focus just changes. It's like all the other things are just little things. It just doesn't.
Well, it totally is. I feel like, you know, for me at least, the perspective change.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit me, you know, it's funny because I know a few people that are just now getting pregnant with their first, and it's like, oh man, you're in for it, you know. And people always, you know, everybody will say different stupid stuff to you when you're first pregnant, you know. But like quite literally, you know, for me, it didn't hit me until I was holding my little walker, and he's like, you know, getting huge now, so this is funny. But you know, they all, and there's just this like this little thing, and you're like sitting there in the hospital in your like the horrific chair/bed that's there. And it's just like, you know, I like literally I started crying, and my wife's like, oh my, like she had not seen me cry before. And I was like, you know, I was telling this story to some friends of ours that we went to Italy with, actually, because they were pregnant, and she had kids, but it was actually Ginger, our massage therapist, but her husband hadn't had any kids yet, and I literally stared crying at the damn dinner table like a baby.
I mean,
and I'm like, dude, that's almost like,
pretty awesome.
That's
though.
my example to people, though. Like, what does that mean? Like, how, you know, how special is that to people? So, you know, I love when, you know, the example you gave about, you know, the lessons that you learn from your daughter. It's so cool. Kids are so cool, and I can. Cool. I mean, I can totally relate to that being most proud.
Right? I mean, because at this point we are very processed products. We get years of news, years of bad news, years of good news, years of failures, disappointments, and successes, and so like we're you know, jaded for better or worse.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
But their minds are just fresh, and it's so enlightening to like they just keep it simple, right?
I love it.
I mean, it is awesome.
It's raw, and it's most honest
pure
form.
Well, I started crying the first time I heard one of my girls laugh, because it's just the emotion. So pure.
Yes.
It's like, that's an actual laugh. There is not a fake laugh here. This is a pure, genuine laugh.
Yeah,
that's so true.
It's so cute.
And you know, the other thing I love, and I'll segue on this, is that here we are, 3 dudes sitting in a room talking about crying.
Right.
When I grew up, there were no crying. We didn't crying like you don't cry. You're grown.
That's not
you're
okay.
a man.
Right.
Don't show your emotions.
Right.
And so my point of this is that we as a people need to come complete full circle in this. Like, even big tough dudes.
Right.
You have to embrace these emotions and not push these things away, because the deleterious side effects are significant. And you talked about stress and anxiety. And man, I don't read the data all that much. I can't tell you numbers, but I will easily tell you that 80+% of people who come see me have some non-insignificant amount of stress and anxiety.
Wow.
And I would posit that if they sort of did a lot of things we're talking about today, that a lot of that would go away. And so as I love that we get to sit here and we can talk about crying about our little girls and our little boys, and it's a cool thing, and at a time it wouldn't have been a cool thing, but it's super helpful. Like, don't ignore those feelings. Don't just embrace them, know what they are, and use them, man. Like, you can't take a whole feeling and like shut it aside. Like, that's not where your body goes.
You're exactly right. I mean, and you hit the nail on the head as well. You know, the older we get, we're just these jaded, processed, broken, you know, pieces of work, right? Like, you know, it becomes, after all of your experiences, it becomes hard to get a rise out of you anymore, right? I mean, flat out. I mean, and I think that's why a lot of, like, you know, highfalutin CEOs and stuff like that, they get their pilot's license, they start skydiving,
That's right.
because they like, it's almost like after a while you can't get a freaking pulse unless you're doing something totally off the wall.
Gethin was talking about this not too long ago.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, I was an adrenaline junkie. Like, it takes so much to get my adrenaline up anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be reading 5 books, riding multiple motorcycles, and running 3 companies at one time. And
Yeah.
you're like, I see.
Yeah.
I get that. Like,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people can totally relate to that, but that's not good.
No.
It's not good.
No.
You know, that means
the people will tell you. I think the people who do it would also tell
Yeah.
us. They'd be like, no, this is not healthy. This is how I'm
Right.
doing it, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of like with exercise too. It's like, you know, you don't get what you want out of it unless you're lifting a heavier weight.
Yeah.
Or you're doing more, or you're going for a longer run or a longer ride or whatever. And, you know, for better or for worse, but anyway, it's very interesting, you know, how our bodies change and process.
Yeah, I agree. That analysis, that continuously being curious about it.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's a complacency, and it
Yeah.
just keeps coming up. But, like, be curious about it. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and you mentioned that in here as well, about, you know, constantly being curious, you know, and I think that's so, you know, so valuable, such a valuable thing to say, but it's one of those simple things to, you know, to just continue to be curious, you know. So what does that look like for you on a daily basis? What piques your curiosity and keeps you curious?
I'm always reading. Not always. That's an exaggeration. But I read a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm big into data. I'm an electrophysiologist. So
Yeah.
I'm a
Naturally,
dork, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at data a lot, and I'm looking at just how I can tweak the day. So it's nothing big or grandiose. It's how did I handle that situation? Could I have handled that better?
Self-reflection.
Exactly. It's reflection, right?
Yeah.
And it permeates every aspect of my day. Some days more than others, but I'm always thinking about why did I do bad? What could I have done better? And I try to not defend what I did,
Right.
because I find that when I start defending internally something I've done, then I'm making an excuse.
Right.
And we need to be more powerful than our excuses. Just be stronger than your excuse. Just call it what it is. I messed up today.
Yeah.
Move on. Like, don't berate yourself. Just move on. Everyone's going to show me one perfect person ever in the history of human beings.
Right.
You can't do it. So like, why be down on yourself? You know, just like say, hey, that's cool. I'll do better next time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I think self-reflection is key. It's huge, right?
Eric, talks
I mean,
about it all the time.
Yeah.
would you say that that's something that you try and do on a daily basis? Self-reflect a lot.
No, I wouldn't at all. I'd say I do it on an hourly basis. I do it on a 30-minute basis.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm sort of what do you call it? Maybe I have a compulsive problem with it.
Yeah.
But no, I think I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah. No, I
And what about you? I mean,
No, I mean, that to me kind of boils down to your other point of being 1% better.
Yeah.
Like, did I do that right? Like, constantly second guessing. And yeah, I mean, it does kind of come off as somewhat compulsive, but I mean, I think in order to, you know, achieve the things that you want to achieve, you have to be compulsive.
I think so.
I mean, you don't just fall into achieving things.
Right.
I don't want to term it as success, because that's such a
I don't love that word.
I'm not in love with the word.
Words.
Yeah,
I hate the the social media success cheering, but I think the self-reflection to me is almost everything. If you can't analyze what you're doing, how are you going to get better? And if the goal is to get better, well, then I think that, and I mean, specifically with exercise, right? I think I look at that a lot on myself and with others, obviously, right? But yeah, how could I be more efficient at achieving what I'm going to, achieve, or my goal for the day? I think that's, another thing comes down to what you said about, kind of getting rid of the little things that aren't leading you down the path that you want to be on.
It's essentialism, right? Like take the things that are essential in your life, and you have to ask yourself those questions.
And I think it's impossible without self-reflection.
Yeah, you have to. And to add to this point, it's not like we're just sitting here talking about some of this woo-woo stuff. These are actual, tangible, real, relatable things with data. So if you want to talk about having goals and having commitments and having something that you can self-reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
There is mortality data and longevity data in people who have something to work towards.
Right.
Even if they don't get there, they fall short or whatever it is. But like having something to work towards, having a goal, big, small, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
I love that you bring that up because the example that I immediately thought of when you said that is when people are talking about like retirement specifically, and you look at people that, they worked for all these years and then it's like they were fine. They quit working. All of a sudden it was like a sharp downhill. And it's like they didn't have the thing. They didn't preoccupy their brain. They didn't exercise So, and you can see that in data.
Oh man, you see it in humans, you see it in data. It's everywhere. I mean, and it doesn't have to be big stuff, man. If it's like make your garden at home prettier,
right?
Great,
perfect.
Make your garden prettier, and then pick your next thing and work towards your thing. But like, we are, I believe that we are sort of pre-wired to have some degree of goals, without being sort of obsessive and compulsive about it. But it is important.
Yeah,
I think it's true that like we talked about before, the necessity of rest as humans, but also the necessity of action and doing something and working towards something. It's a necessary part of life. When it comes to the thought of I'm going to work until I don't have to work anymore and I'm just going to rest. That's not necessarily how it looks. You could be restful, but you're gardening, just like you said, that kind of deal.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
So the other interesting stat that you gave in here, I love that you give stats in here. It's totally the way my brain works. So, but you talk about, we ask how exercise has enhanced your life, and we've touched a little bit on that. But you say we could, obviously decrease healthcare expenditure by greater than 50%. If we could, focus on these things. But talking about the good nutrition, the good sleep, the good emotional state, you've said it before. If it could be a pill, it would be the greatest pill of all time. And I just think that's so insightful, and I can't like resonate with that enough. Like how much I wish I could just compel people to, listen to these things that you're saying and get moving. And I mentioned it before, like with COVID and all the things that happened last year. It's like, man, if that wasn't a motivator for people to, take control of their health, like we've had a full over year now since then. You could, we talked about before, completely change your life in that 1 year. So, just seeing somebody that puts that into practice as well as, with your work and everything, it's just, it's great to see. And that kind of segues into, how you say it's an interesting question or a great question, but in here we ask the 3 things you're most passionate about. You say, family, working out, St. Louis Cardinals baseball. We'll plug that, right?
Go Redbirds.
being 1% better each day. And, you say it's a great question because we ask, how does that compare to your obsessions when you were young? How do you feel like you've molded your mindset over the years?
Man, that is a good question. That's that is, again, it's a continual work in progress, right? Like, I never want to rest on my laurels, but I was, when I was a kid, man, I was a schmuck like anyone else.
You're a kid.
Dicking around, playing guns and playing sports all day, and my days would consist of playing basketball on a blacktop in Missouri with 100% humidities at 100 degrees, and my lunch would be going down to 7-Eleven and getting nachos. And a Mountain Dew, like a double big gulp Mountain Dew, and then going back and playing 3 more hours of hoops.
Burning off all that sugar.
Burn it off, baby.
Similar,
Win forever, right? Like we were doing that until the sun went down, and then begging to stay out longer. So I don't know. It's challenging to think about. I mean, I think I was always goal oriented. And I think I must have always had some reasonable semblance of balance, some degree of balance. Many times out of that, it was out of control, or I mean, out of balance. But because I had been in balance, I was able to see when it was out of balance. And so I think that's always sort of been a big theme, is like try to be moderation, right?
Right.
And so how has it changed from when I was a kid? I think I didn't have appreciation for a lot of things we're talking about. And so I think just developing the appreciation, but having the foundation of when I was a kid, I would still be curious. I was just a curious kid, right? You know, how many things of nachos could I eat and not dunk a basketball?
So heavy.
So it's the only thing constant is change.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like this when we're having this podcast and we're all 80 years old. You know, we're going to say, well, what was it like when you were 40? And well, you know, I'm just trying to evaluate this stuff, and now I'm trying to do the same thing, and hopefully the good principles come along, and you've done this so long that you can sort of, you know, look through the weeds into the trees, you know.
Yeah.
So that answers your question.
Yeah. So segue that into, you know, some of your goals that, you know, we ask about your professionally, your goal, and you mentioned, you know, health, wellness, potentially doing, you know, working on consulting project, things like that. So what do you, I think that kind of goes along with what you see as potentially a solution to some of the issues we're having and what you see in healthcare.
Yeah, no, and it's, I find that I'm becoming more and more passionate about this as the day goes by, fueled by any number of factors, but it's, that's what occupies my brain, is how do we're not going to be able to solve the healthcare problem without attacking it at a foundational level. Right. And in my mind, and I think there's plenty of data to back this up, but in my mind, you and I have talked about this in business stuff before, right? Like the thing is prevent so you don't get bad. Right. Okay, so that sounds smart and fine, whatever, but like how do you do that? What do you need to prevent? Well, it's so simple. It's these 5 things we've been talking about. Right. And so if we, as a society, can make those things sort of concrete, to add to your question, you know, if these things are concrete as kids, they're going to be concrete as an adult, or at least you're going to have that foundation. Right. And then your parents are going to have that foundation, because you and I, all 3 of us, are in a society right now where these things probably weren't really put in our heads when we were kids.
Dude, we had the food pyramid. Man.
Exactly.
Like,
I remember that big poster on the side of the classroom. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which is super flawed, by the way.
Yeah.
But another story. My hope is that in some way I can help folks do that on a sort of broader basis, you know, so where I can take a broad sword and reach more people, and whether that's consulting or through the podcast or through, you know, lectures or conferences, whatever it is, there's a need for it. There's a desire. I tell you, and you guys know, that the people are insatiably hungry for stuff like this. Right. And so I think capitalizing on that now is, number one, a passion of mine. I feel so strongly about those things that can prevent what I trained years to do. Yeah. And there's this beauty in that juxtaposition. Like there's this rawness and like this purity, to use your word.
Well, it's like you're working back down from the top almost. Right?
You know? Like, it's true.
It's like you've got all of this, you know, special. Well, you've got all this specialization. You've got all of this training. You've got all of this education, and it's come from broad up to narrow. And now, you know, being in the position that you are, being, you know, highly, highly educated, people need to listen to you and what you have to say, flat out, right? No exceptions. But you can boil that all down now to this tangible advice that just needs to be delivered. And, you know, one of the great things about, you know, all of the training and education that you've gone through is all of those letters behind your name and all of your experience say, hey, you need to listen to me because I really know. Like, we need more people that go after that, you know, more doctors that are saying these types of things and not just sitting there, you know, doing surgery left and right and saying, well, it's a living, you know. It's like, you know, it's very, what's the word? I don't know. It's very not assuring, but it just makes me feel good knowing that, you know, somebody of, you know, your level of education and in your position is, you know, passionate about those things and sharing those things.
That's really kind. Well, I appreciate that, and it is a passion. And you know, it's, as you're saying this, and I'm sitting back and I'm just thinking about some of these patient interactions, and I can say things till I'm blue in the face, and you know, it goes in one ear out the other
right.
oftentimes. And I say things all the time. They just don't listen.
Yeah,
it's hard. You know, you go to the doctor, people are nervous, and there's some. But one thing that has really helped is that when I come in and I am in pretty good shape,
mm-hmm.
it gets commented on by almost everybody,
mm-hmm.
and which is kind of, I was a little nervous about it, and I'm still a little nervous about it at times, but what it does is it opens that door. It opens that door because almost always someone says, "Man, you look pretty good. You work out a lot. What do you do? Can I ask?" And I'm like, yes, this is exactly it.
Yes.
This is the door. Yes, you can ask, and I would love to spend 5 extra minutes with you telling you what you can do.
Yes.
Because you can do all this same stuff.
Yeah.
Everything. You just need these couple things and go get started.
And it's not even money.
It's not money.
No.
It's cheap. It's free. It's tangible.
Yeah.
It is rewarding. It's the greatest pill you're ever going to take. And those 20 pills you take right now, gone.
Yeah.
Those are
and
gone.
those are expensive.
Damn right they're. And they're all allowable poison. Everything we take is an allowable amount of poison.
Right.
Every single drug has some side effect. Even the supplements have side effects.
Right.
So they come to me and they want these drugs, and I'm like, we can give you these drugs if you want, but honestly, you can take care of a lot of these.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't want it.
They don't want to do it.
Yeah. But when you get those patients, and it's happening more frequently.
Good.
It is, man. It is a really cool feeling.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
You know, it's funny, you know, we mentioned supplements too, and you mentioned earlier, and, you know, said magnesium, and I'm like, I knew I liked this guy. Because, man, I mean, the thing that I tell people, you know, I get asked about supplements around the clock.
We'll
be
doing that show.
Yeah. And, you know, I always tell people, you know, okay, well, creatine, number one, which we joked about earlier.
Everyone needs 5 grams of creatine.
Right.
I don't care if you're a bodybuilder. I don't care if you're a cyclist. I don't care if you are a mom. I don't care. You need 5 grams of creatine every day.
Yep. Agreed.
There you go.
Yeah. Agreed.
Pure
Write it down.
creatine
There's
monohydrate.
so much literature, peer-reviewed, you name it. It is like nail in the coffin. It's a thing.
Coffin.
Creatine. But beyond that, the one supplement or group of supplements that I am just, you know, a huge fan of is electrolytes.
Yeah, man.
You can't get enough of them, literally. You know.
Do you know why that is? I know you know why that is, but
well, let's hear your take on it.
The soil. Our soil is so depleted of nutrients because of over farming, monocrop farming, that we just can't. You can't get the supplement. You can't get the electrolytes you need
from food. Yeah.
And now people are eating processed food. And
right.
So, it's just not. And when they do finally put some supplements there, they put electrolytes in there. They put in things that don't do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So, for example, you think about magnesium.
Right.
Magnesium, we are vastly deficient in magnesium. Everyone should have magnesium supplementation, hands down, and I'm happy to tell you guys how to take that. But there are some forms of magnesium that do particular things, and there are some that cause, you know, there's 3 forms of magnesium you need to take. Some don't cross your blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
So when a lot of these companies will put sort of supplements in there, I'm not saying everyone, I'm not chastising companies, but there is a lot of marketing gimmickry that will make you think that indeed there's something in there that's helping you, but it's just not, because it's sort of like the protein thing, and you talked about this earlier, right? If someone's sucking down protein every 2 hours, hey, guess what? You can't metabolize that. You cannot incorporate that into your body. You are shitting that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Going straight out the crapper.
Yeah.
So you can do it all you want, but you're wasting your money and your time.
Yeah.
So same thing with a lot of these electrolytes. Just you have to sort of know how to do it. But so you were saying electrolytes.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a huge one, and magnesium specifically. I mean, those are the main things. And I'll go ahead and plug Cage Muscle. I do love the HydroCharge.
I do, dude, and it's out right now. Did you notice that?
Yes, and
I'm a little bummed about it.
Yeah, we've been trying to get more in, and it's like, oh man, luckily I grabbed a few bottles, so
guess where I'm stopping.
Yeah, and we do have some in stock actually, but specifically that, and I do take 3 different forms of magnesium, typically speaking. Lots of glycinate, and then some citrate mainly. So I guess those are the main 2, but occasionally I'll throw in blends of others. But the citrate is kind of funny. I mean, that's the one, right?
That's the one.
That's the one that people get really into for different reasons other than its primary source, but it actually helps with low carbohydrate diets with motility. So that's a great benefit. But what's your regimen with that?
So similar. So I use 3 of them. So I will use slow magnesium. I will use magnesium oxide. And,
that's the other one I do take occasionally is oxide.
And magnesium threonate. So magnesium threonate is the one you can use at night because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. Otherwise, magnesium won't cross your blood-brain barrier. Same reason if you have headaches and stuff, Tylenol is better than non-steroidals because you don't cross the blood-brain barrier. And then magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide is the one that can give people the runs, and you can get some real GI upset. So it's a sort of graded. You have to go up on it, and you have to cut it down. If you're fasting, you shouldn't be taking a bunch of mag oxide. And then the slow magnesium because it won't cause GI upset.
Right.
So I will routinely put people on massive amounts of magnesium.
I take
4 grams of magnesium.
I was going to say I take literally thousands of milligrams of magnesium a day, and it's funny. I feel so different.
Oh, yeah.
But most people don't realize, like, there's legitimate, not just the way you feel, but, first of all, it's, an antagonist to calcium for muscle contractions. Exactly. I mean, if you want to be efficient in creating a concentration gradient and action potential across nerd alert, sarcoplasmic reticulums, where all your calcium is stored within your muscle cells, then you need to be taking adequate amounts of magnesium flat out. But aside from that, you've got, it lowers blood pressure, do you notice particular things with the heart besides just blood pressure?
Massive.
Yeah.
I will take, so people come in, and maybe you guys have even you had palpitations before, funny little heartbeats, and you're like, what the hell was that?
Luckily I haven't.
Yeah, it's because you take all this magnesium. Yeah. But so this is really, really common. People get little short runs of tachycardia or palpitations, PACs or PVCs, and these are just extra skip beats. They're nothing. They're of no clinical consequence, but they're annoying.
Yeah.
And if they persist long enough, they can turn into a real heart rhythm problem. And so I've been giving people like powerful drugs, antiarrhythmic drugs. I go in and take them to surgery and burn these things away.
Right.
You know what works better than all that?
Magnesium.
Friggin' magnesium.
Yeah.
You just take magnesium, and it has so many. So I won't even put them on. I'll just give them here's my magnesium script. Take a bunch of water. Take your magnesium. Come back and see me in 6 or 8 weeks. They're gone. Because crazy. Of the cardioprotective effects, because smooth muscle effects.
Yeah.
They feel better because it gets into their brain. So that helps with. There's so many neurotransmitters that rely on magnesium as a cofactor. Yeah. Restless leg syndrome, just like you were talking about, with calcium and magnesium supplementation and antagonism. And then in your heart, same thing in the heart. So the way electricity propagates also needs magnesium.
Yeah.
And so it also seems to suppress some of these excitable foci that are causing these things.
Yeah.
And it's cheap, and it's easy, and it's not a toxic drug.
No.
You don't get really, pregnant ladies can get a bunch of magnesium when they're going for labor induction.
Yeah.
And it's IV and it's big doses, and so you can get toxicity. But short of that, you just don't see magnesium toxicity.
It doesn't really exist.
No,
I mean, the worst thing that happens really is you just get the shits.
You get the shits. And
so you back off a little bit.
You back off a little. And you know what? Clean your gut out a little, man.
Yeah.
Because it probably needs to be cleaned out, and that's okay.
That's all right, too.
No, it's crazy. It's funny. I've had a few clients go in for various surgeries recently, and their doctors are very anti, get off all your supplements and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, no, that's fair, right? They don't know what you're taking, right? They don't want to just say, oh, yeah, it's fine when you could be, So I totally understand. I subscribe to that. But they're like, do I really need to stop taking magnesium? And I'm like, please God, do not stop taking Calm. And so, you know, it's everybody, I'm like, no, don't stop taking magnesium. Like, you know, I had one client, oh man, I just can't, like, my digestive system's all messed up, like I just feel worse. I'm like, please take your bag. Like, it's not going to matter.
No, it's really not. And it's unfortunate too, you know, as you bring this up, like, as a community, we as doctors have a grossly inadequate understanding of supplements.
Right.
And it's not, I don't know that I'm not putting it a fault to anyone. It's something I love, so I study a lot about it, but we learned nothing about that in medical school.
Right.
And you think about diet, like, here I am sitting, and I'm telling you, like, the 4 or 5 greatest things in to keep you healthy are diet, you know, or nutrition, exercise, sleep. You know how much time we get on that in medical school?
Like a class, a course.
At best.
Yeah.
Minutes. And so you have to come across. So a lot of docs just don't know. And so it goes back to bring it full circle. Be your own advocate. No one cares about your body as much as you care about your body.
Well, yeah, and that's also, I think it boils down to, in some sense, a bit of a flaw in the education system, and the education system just has not caught up to a lot of what is out there in the literature right now. For example, I coach a lot of, currently and in the past, I have coached a lot of registered dietitians.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I mean, nurses is a given. They learn less than doctors about that stuff. But luckily, a lot of them are very health conscious, which is great. And they are good advocates for themselves. But, you know, so yeah, RDs, nutritionists, you name it. Like, I mean, I've coached them all. And I mean, not to toot my own horn, but, and I don't mean this as that at all. It is more so a representation of how poor their education was.
That's true.
But I probably taught them more about nutrition than they learned in school.
100%.
Which is crazy. And, you know, for myself, like, you know, I can speak for the nutrition class I took in my master's program, my nutrition course I took in my undergrad, my nutrition course I took, I think I took one in high school even. And it's like, have I ever used that information ever? Probably the fact that carbs are 4 calories a gram, protein's 4 calories per gram, and fat's 9 calories per gram. That's probably about the extent of it, you know?
That's right.
And so it's just crazy to me that, you know, physicians in general, like, I wish that more of them were as proactive as you were with that. And like Caleb, Dr. Redden, you know, because, you know, you guys are definitely two of the good guys in the medical community that are, you know, preaching what I feel is, you know, the gospel of health, right? I mean, all of these things we talked about.
Let's be very honest about this. Your gut is your second brain. Maybe your heart's your second brain, but it's those 3 things. Yeah. And you think about think about these data and the whole medical science. It's challenging, and that's an obvious duh, right? Yeah. But so there, I forget how many papers are published every year. You could probably Google it, but
a lot.
Let's say there's 100,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's this unbelievable treasure trove of medical data. Mm-hmm. But 70 to 80% of them have only been cited one time. Mm-hmm. And so what does that mean? That means a lot of people are putting medical data out that no one else is using. Right. It doesn't mean that it's bad, but there's so much data out there. So you can find data to probably support anything you want. Right. Mm. You want to say you go on a full cheeseburger diet, you could probably find data. Right. You be an intermittent faster for 79 days, 3 times a year, you can probably find data. Right. But it's not all great data. Right. And so it's challenging in nutritional data. Yeah. To control for nutritional data is uber hard. Yes. And it takes years of follow-up and all the complexities of clinical
compliance. Let's be honest, compliance.
Well, in honesty, right? Yeah. Like, a lot of it is recall data, and so you have to write down everything you did, and you're unintentionally are not going to tell the truth at times, right. Or even intentionally not tell the truth at times because you want to sort of. So it's hard to control. Yeah. Right?
And, really the thing that shocked me when I was doing a lot of the writing for my master's program is that little old me can find holes in the research.
Yeah.
Like, I'm nobody special. Why am I able to see that, okay, this study said this study said this? Like, why can't we, like, there's a patchwork that just needs to happen in some way. And I totally understand that a lot of it boils down to, like, finances, logistics,
yes.
being able to, like, how are you going to actually measure that in a study? Yeah. Who's funding the study? Like, there's a lot of, kind of obstacles in the way of this, but like, just, seeing, like, the amount of research published, and, like, you say a lot of it is only cited like once. It's like, shouldn't we be focusing on, like, more relevant things
instead
here?
of dearth of data? Instead of getting data out, it should be relevant data.
Right.
And if that means doing a bunch of trials, and this is the thing for your career, you do a 5-year trial and they all come up negative, that's okay.
Yeah.
That is okay, because you are
That's
showing
still
stuff,
data.
Right? That's still data.
Yeah.
Even this weekend, so that we had the American College of Cardiology meeting, and one of the couple trials came out about fish oil.
Oh, cool.
I'm a huge proponent of fish oil. I love fish oil.
I think fish oil is great.
Tons. Same thing. It's like I take
like
probably 4 to 5 grams of.
I was going to say, like, 2,000 EPA. Is that what you're at, or?
Yeah. Well, so this is what I'll get into.
Oh, perfect. Let's hear it.
It's a little more EPA than DHA, and so it's about.
Is it 2 to 1?
It's about 3 to 2 is what I'm taking.
Okay.
So it's about 5 grams, and I felt real good about this, because at the end of the day, I'm a vegetarian, and so I don't eat meat, and I don't eat too bad of a diet, and I can't get the things I need exogenous fish oil.
Yeah.
And it's actually, so does everyone.
I agree. That's a recommendation from us as well.
And so, but interestingly, data came out, and some of it was out of Intermountain in Salt Lake, and they have this treasure trove of genetic analysis, blood samples from years and years and years and years and years ago, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're looking at this data, and it turns out, everyone says fish oil is healthy for your heart or whatever. Data that came out this weekend, in a reasonable trial, I still have to do a deep dive, but this is why I have to do these deep dives, because there's so much data.
Oh,
and it's
absurd.
So I can't, if I say something in here that is wrong, it's unintentional. I just have to do more with it. But so, people have said it's cardioprotective, fish oil. Well, there's now data coming out that it's maybe not cardioprotective, and then we say, well, okay, well, who? And so, okay, well, now we're trying to parse it out and say, well, maybe it's not protective for people with coronary disease. So, like, the 3 of us, we're fine. It's not too big of a deal. But if we get coronary disease, then it's not protective. And you say, well, that's a little weird. Why is that? I don't really understand that. You can have hypotheses, and I won't get into it. But the interesting thing is, as you say, EPA versus DHA, so it looks like all the cardioprotective benefit is coming from EPA.
Right.
And so when you go get your fish oil, it is a mixture of EPA and DHA.
And typically it's different ratios.
It's the formulation. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 1 to 1.
Right.
But the DHA is taking away the cardioprotective benefit, and I say to myself, well, that's it. What, really? Like, okay, I don't know. I mean, but this is why we do the medical data. So I'm curious about it, as I'm now sucking down 4 to 5 grams of fish oil every day for a long time, and then even more so in the same. I believe it was the same one. If it was a different conference, but I saw data this weekend that said, with folks who take exogenous fish oil. Mm-hmm. For men, there's a 43% higher rate of prostate cancer.
Really?
And I was like, well, son of a monkey.
Yeah.
Really? So if I've been telling people all this time in good conscience, and I feel good about it, and I'm doing it to this day, so I don't, but I'm like,
in the end, it's one study.
It's one study, right?
So we got to dig, right?
Got to dig. We got to figure it out. And so I'm not saying don't go quit taking your fish oil, but we probably have more to learn. That seems a very high incidence for taking some eicosapentaenoic acid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that seems...
So it is challenging.
That seems aggressive.
It seems aggressive.
But, for a long time, I've based my recommendations off of probably several studies that I ended up reading. But, from the anti-inflammation and things that.
Joints,
all that stuff,
deal.
Definitely, I've been, I typically put about 2,000 milligrams of EPA and 1,000 DHA, whatever. And then, just for a base amount, like 600 to 1,000 EPA, 200 to 300 DHA type of a situation. But, which, saw as beneficial and very compelling.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about science that's cool, is if those studies, come back as being, legit, like,
Right.
I would change my tune. And it's not like I would have to apologize to anybody,
No.
you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm just going off of the most current. But, and that really ticks me off about some people that are like, oh, no, I know this is the way. And it's like, well,
Okay.
oh yeah, it's actually
I'm not gonna listen to you
not
anymore.
what's
Yeah.
coming out, So anyway, it's very fascinating. to me.
It is fascinating, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
Right.
So all we can do is just get good at reading as much as we can, understanding it, knowing the
Right.
pitfalls, and knowing people who to ask, who study these things
Right.
pretty
Right.
frequently, and
Right.
know that we don't know everything. Like,
Right.
this stuff is way smarter than it. I don't care what doctor you bring in here and talk about stuff.
Right.
We are trying to figure it out as much as anyone else, and we can be very certain. And then next year, some other data comes out. And so,
Well, I think that's a sign of intelligence, is being willing to adapt to the truth.
Absolutely.
And to learning for yourself
Yeah.
what is the truth.
and
Yeah.
for all of us, right? Like,
Yes.
is just like, there's probably not too many hard, fast rules. Like,
Right.
if you're born, you're probably going to die. And
Yeah.
outside of that,
Yeah.
are there any other
Yeah.
rules you feel too
Right,
good about
right,
saying
right.
this is 100%,
So, to segue off that, some of the kind of off the cuff questions that we like to ask are some serious, some not.
Yeah, oh, I love it.
So, what is the first thing that you think when you wake up in the morning?
Very good question, and it's changed. Recently, it's changed. So I wake up very first thing in the morning. I don't grab my phone for as long as possible.
Oh, that's
Good for
great.
you.
I
Yes.
love that.
I don't care if it's, I just don't grab it. And I won't look at my email. That time is my time. I'm waking up. So what do I say to myself? I'm setting my intention for the day. My intention for the day is I'm going to get up, I'm going to stretch, see some sun. I'm going to do what I need to do, take care of myself, which is always exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And that sets the tone. And when I don't do that,
Not as good of a day.
it is not as good of a day.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
I
it
hear
is-
that.
This day starts right now. I'm setting the intention. The intention is I am using my time for myself. That's how I'm going to start my day. And then everything else flows.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So if you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
That are alive.
Dead or
Dead or
alive.
Oh, dead or alive?
Mhm.
I would say.
I know it's a
I
tough
think I
one.
have my 3, but I'm trying to think of other people that would. Oh man, I mean, it would be hard for me to not want to have dinner with the Buddha, and Marcus Aurelius. I want to say some sort of sports guy or someone who invented something super dope, or but I think my third is probably going to be the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
That's my.
Whoa,
off the
what a
cuff
dinner that
answer.
would be.
That is
Man, can you
that's
imagine that
epic.
dinner?
Yeah, I keep wanting to say like fictional characters like
Oh.
William Wallace in
Oh,
Braveheart,
yeah, that's
like
a cool
in character,
answer.
like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Like, because you don't know what he was really like, but if he was like what he was
Yeah.
in the movie that portrays that,
Yeah.
I want to have dinner with that guy. You know what I
like
mean?
that. That's pretty cool.
It's-
I like that answer.
Anyway, no, that's a very that is a deep answer for your
it's
for
probably
your 3.
it's there's got to be others. I mean, there's got to be some other people that would just be like,
I mean,
some hilarious comedian where you're just
right.
like, you don't have time to eat because you're like
You're just laughing.
shitting yourself laughing
Right.
so hard.
I
you know?
mean, that would be the dream, right? Okay, top 3 books. I know you've thrown
Yeah.
several out
Throw
there.
3 out already.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've thrown, what 3? We've got emotional
Oh, maybe
intelligence.
2. We have emotional intelligence. Atomic Habits, was that a book that you
Atomic
mentioned?
Habits, yeah. Top 3 books. I think The 4 Agreements is definitely one of the top books. I would say Omnivore's Dilemma is probably up there as well. And I'll go with. Sorry, I read a lot. So
No,
I'm
you're
still
good.
trying to-
I truth be told, I didn't read a book for like my own learning or my own enjoyment. It was actually funny. I bring back to when I did that very first podcast with those guys. They asked me about books, and I'm like, I don't have time for that. Yeah. And I thought about that legitimately later that night, and I'm like, oh man, I sound like an uneducated freaking dickhead. You know what I mean? And so exactly from that moment on, I was like, I have to read, like, you know. And so, I can totally relate to being
ego
a
is
reader.
the enemy.
Ego is the enemy.
Anything you get from Ryan Holiday is to be eaten up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's
okay. Ego is the enemy. Yeah. So how many books do you have in your library?
Hundreds.
That's amazing. That's good.
That is.
I'm trying to catch up.
And some of them, let's be honest, some of them I haven't read, but I will get to them.
Yes, I have those. As well.
I've discovered this. My wife she was awesome about it last year. Like, she set this goal to read 30 books. I think it's 30. Maybe it's 25. It's probably 25 because it's 2 months.
2 months, perfect.
She did it. It was awesome. And so now, like, our nights have transformed a little. You know, we'd be the normal thing, watch a little Netflix or whatever. And
date night, read night.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it was, and it's great. And so now we'll sit on the couch and we'll read, like, the TV, unless the Cardinal game is on in the background with the volume down.
Right.
Like, we're not watching TV. We're sitting there reading. And
it's
a great time for us, and, like, it's expanding our brains.
Yeah,
and
what a way to treat your brain.
Right? Like, it's I've really fallen in love with it.
Top 2 movies.
Oh. Big Lebowski.
Oh, there you go.
We do this a lot.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Movies and songs are so.
Oh yeah. Well, that's coming late.
I think Big Lebowski. I mean, how do you not love Shawshank?
That's a classic.
That is dissected that script.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, that's tough. I don't know if that could change. That answer probably changes.
Yeah.
Like every
Top comedy. Let's say that. Top comedy.
It's got to be Lebowski.
Okay.
I mean, hard to not put Dumb and Dumber on there.
Right.
Another classic.
Another classic. Okay, beautiful. So we'll say that song. Specifically, say gym music, or like, what do you listen to when you work out? Do you listen to podcasts when you work out? Do you listen to music?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Very loud, angry music. Very loud.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Like Irish, like Dropkick Murphys, and rap.
That's fantastic.
So like, I don't
he is
go,
human.
like,
Okay,
Rob
thank
Zombie.
God. He is human. Okay.
Oh man, yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah.
I do. You know, Rob Zombie. You know, that dude's a vegan.
Really?
Yes, man. Like regular, like that dude is a pretty good, in shape, like vegan.
Wow, I did not know that.
I didn't either.
He's also a psychopath.
Yeah, I don't know much about that part, but I was like, oh, you're vegan.
Well, no, I'm just like, those movies that he directed. Did you ever watch any of those?
No, I don't.
That's the only reason I say that. Don't.
There are some movies out there. Where is
man, it's fascinating to see what artists can do.
Oh man. Yeah, it
what do
always,
you guys have pumping through the things here?
You know, we run Spotify, and it varies. I'm continuously frustrated with the music in here, to be honest. Sometimes you get in a good beat, good rhythm, and things are just flowing, but it's super hard to appease everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And if you put on music that appeases everybody hates it, right? Yeah. Because
collectively angry.
It's a tough deal. So just bring your headphones, listen to it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so it varies a lot. Depends on who's here. Depends on what's going on. Depends who's working. We let people come up and change it if they want to. Like, we try to keep the explicit stuff to a minimum. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it, like, I'm kind of along your lines. I'll have days where sometimes I, have so much pent up that I like legitimately put any of them on.
For sure.
Like classical, that sort of genre. And then some days it's like you said, it's like death metal. Like you know what I mean? Like just get all the anger out. And then guess what? I take the headphones out and I'm done working out, and I'm so happy.
You're just feeling like a peach.
Yeah, just a peach. It's the greatest.
It's funny. Yesterday, I was doing like a shoulder, like a landmine, and on my right arm had a dropkick burpee song going at the doctor, and great. I love that. Just get the jack, right? And then that song ended, and my left arm came on like this Irish, like old Celtic.
Oh yeah.
Red is the Rose thing, which I happen to love the song, just like singing choral music.
Right.
Like, wow, what an interesting dichotomy of music.
Within
like a minute.
Which arm's going to be
left
strong?
brain, right brain.
Which arm's going to be strong?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you know, the other thing that I was going to mention, I'm just curious, like if you listen to podcasts while you're working out, but the people that do listen to podcasts while you're working out, and if you're listening to this podcast to work out too, I'd say this is the podcast to listen to while you work out. But
I agree with that.
I also think that you're a weirdo. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Like,
you can't. You
just need, like, I think good rhythm, powerful rhythm, you know, because in my mind, lifting is like music, right? You know, you're kind of creating your own symphony. I mean, that's very eccentric, but
it's a little woo-woo, but it's true. I mean, that's what you're doing, right? Like you're sculpting things.
Yeah.
And if you're, like we talked about earlier, if this is a meditation time,
I can't concentrate.
I'm listening to us yahoos yap, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on us yahoos yapping. I'm going to focus on
when you get caught listening to the yapping, your rest time instead of 30 seconds where it needs to be becomes 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is the question of questions that everybody hates that we ask off the cuff.
Awesome. This is tough. I'm going to have a hard time with it.
Hunter knows. Who would play your character in a biography?
Oh.
If somebody was casting you in a movie, who would do it?
That would be okay, so let me clarify. Someone I would want to do it, or someone I think would be best suited to play me?
That's actually good.
Both or one or the other. It doesn't matter. Because my last guest, or was it Carolyn? No, I can't remember. One of our guests.
It's kind of both. They both kind of do that.
Yeah. A couple people have asked me, well, who would you choose? And I'm like, I mean, obviously The Rock is the answer, but he wouldn't be the best fit. So anyway, long story short, you can either.
Ryan Reynolds.
Dude, that's money.
Big thumbs up on that one.
Yeah, that's money. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds would be good. Yeah.
I think a second backup would probably be Idris Elba.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
He's like this uber good-looking black dude.
Yeah.
Great beard.
The British
dude.
Great accent.
I think aside from skin color, that is dead on. You know what I mean? That actually, because even your build is kind of similar, because he's kind of muscular and lean and has a longer frame, at least it looks like.
Well, watching Hobbs and Shaw, watching Idris Elba go against Jason Statham and The Rock. That's a great film.
That's true.
That's awesome. Well, excellent. I'm satisfied. I'm so stoked. I think this turned out amazing. I'm so just honored to have you on the podcast. Seriously, I know your time is extremely valuable, and I'm so grateful that you were able to come and give us your insight and wisdom, share your wisdom with us. So
I appreciate that, Devin. This is a lot of fun, and I agree. It's like these venues are so good to get information on. Yeah. Share. So thank you for having me. Certainly we'll have you guys on ours too.
Yes. Yes. And the name of your podcast again is?
So it's Head to Heart. You guys can find it on all the
channels.
Spotify, TikTok.
We'll try and link it below.
Yeah, we'll link it.
So we'll be putting some stuff of yours on our site as well. So social media folks know that. We're working on it today. But yeah, we'd love if you guys listen to talk about all that same stuff.
Yeah. No, I looked through as soon as Brian mentioned that to me last week, and awesome guests. I can't wait to listen to that. It's on my to-do list. I'm gonna start running through it. Yeah. So anyway, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being on here. I appreciate it very much, and I know the guests are going to be or the guests, the listeners are going to be thrilled.
Cool. I hope so. And that's just one day at a time, right? One person at a time. If you're going to help one person, that's super good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you for joining us on the Power of Lifting podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For more content like this, follow Eric Cafferty and the Mecca Gym on all social media platforms.